I'm Carla Reeves, and this is Differently. Whether you feel stuck in survival, navigating a change, or seeking more for your life, may this podcast be your weekly nudge to take a risk, to build a life that is uniquely bold, authentic, and in alignment with your deepest values. After a decade of coaching individuals from corporate leaders to creative artists to multi-million-dollar CEOs, I'm convinced we are far closer than we realize to what we deeply desire, and it's a willingness to do differently that can change everything. Are you ready to level up your business? Imagine this, a block of time dedicated solely to the strategic growth of your business. It's an exciting idea, isn't it? My friend and colleague Josephine Owusu is back. She's going to talk about this incredible idea of CEO time. This episode comes with a ton of practical advice as she shares her insights on setting strategic goals, focusing on revenue-generating activities, and the magic that unfolds when you give undivided attention to your vision. Have you ever wondered why some businesses just keep forging ahead and others seem to plateau? Maybe this is the secret, the prioritization of CEO time. Honestly, this idea of CEO time, I have been really good at implementing for planning my day and life. But after this call, I was completely energized and inspired to take this deeper into moving the needle on important things that grow my business life. Josephine is going to weave in stories and about how this has become a non-negotiable and helped her achieve significant milestones. If you are ready to ignite your creativity, rekindle your energy and drive for a business or project you're heading up, or know that it's time to be more proactive, CEO time just might be the ticket. Let's dive in with Josephine and talk about all the who, what, when, where, and how. May this episode be a reminder that taking time for strategic planning is not a luxury, but a necessity for taking your business and life to the next level. Josephine, welcome back to Differently.
Thank you for having me, Carla.
I'm so excited that you're back. For people listening, if you haven't met Josephine, you can go back to Build a Business and a Life. She was on in March of this year, March 30th. And so we're so excited to have you back. And today we're talking CEO time. So how is that, maybe just as an intro, how is that playing a role in your life most recently?
Yes, so with CEO time, it's something that I am so passionate about, and it's something that I've incorporated in my business, and it allows me to actually look at the big picture for my business, the big picture vision, think about where I want to go in the business, come up with any ideas of services or even products that I want to launch. So it allows me to think strategically and creatively in my business.
And so for people who have never heard of CEO time, take us a little deeper into it. What does this mean for our life and our business? And why is this so ever important? Yeah. And you know, your passion behind it. Like, I know you see things when you're working with people, when we are regularly setting aside time to work on our business instead of in our business. Kind of paint that picture for us.
So what CEO time is specific time that you've actually dedicated, as you said, to work on your business, because it's very easy as a CEO to wear many hats and do everything in the business. And so we can get stuck in the weeds. Whereas if you put aside dedicated time, it allows you to think about, okay, what are the things that I can do to hit my financial goals? What are the things that I can do to grow my business, to take it to the next level, to stand out? And so it's that dedicated time where you really kind of get away from all the noise and you focus on a specific thing. So, for example, last year, I went on away on a CEO retreat. So I went away for 5 days and I booked an Airbnb 2 hours from where I live. And because I was in a process where I was looking at what my services were, my main focus for that week was actually really just looking at, okay, what am I really good at? What have other results that I've been getting with my clients? And what kind of service do I want to provide going forward? And so I kind of just sat down and got in the weeds and I had loads of papers and was mapping things out, doing creative brainstorms. So there's so many different aspects, but you can structure it in such a way that you get a result at the end. So it's dedicated time for you to actually think strategically and creatively.
I love this so much. And for anyone listening who's like, oh my gosh, 5 days, that sounds amazing, but that's not possible. That's something we can work towards, right? Like really setting goals so we can work towards that even in our CEO time. But I know we can do this, you know, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, right? Where it doesn't have to be, it could maybe be a chunk of 3 or 4 hours or a day. Speak to that a little bit.
Yes, so there's different ways that you can incorporate your CEO time. So the 5 days, that was a luxury.
That's
I'm
amazing.
building myself up so I can do that every quarter. But, last year I did it once. And another way, and this is the one that I encourage the most, is for you to take whether it's half a day or one day every single week where you can where it's your CEO time. Now, in that time as well, so in addition to strategizing and creative brainstorming, it might even be you doing marketing tasks. So, right, bulk creating your blog posts, for example, or your LinkedIn posts, that's all part of it because those are revenue generating tasks. So, the key thing when it comes to CEO time is you want to be focusing on tasks that will move your business forward and tasks that are revenue generating tasks. And so you can look at your schedule in the week and look at when are the busiest times? When is it busiest with my clients? And when do I have the down times in my week? Because everyone's weeks are different. I've had previous roles where I was working in corporate and we were working with teams in Dubai. And so towards the end of the week, it actually got quieter because in Dubai, they didn't work on Fridays. And so that was like, okay, that's my downtime. But then I've also worked in other roles where I was working with other different teams and it was actually quieter at the beginning of the week. So it's all about looking at when can you slot in that time where you can just be unapologetic, you can focus on those marketing tasks, focus on even connecting with people on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is not just content, but it's also actually building connections. So getting in those DMs and building relationships, not just selling to people, building relationships.
Hmm.
And then also kind of planning out times when you can go to, for example, any business events or networking events, in-person events or workshops. Or if you want to increase your visibility when it comes to speaking engagements in that CEO time, you can map out your speaking engagements. If you are someone who wants to be on podcasts more, in your CEO time, you can work on pitching podcasts. So, for example, if your goal is, I want to be on more podcasts this year, for example, you can create your one sheet, for example, and with all the information, what your topics are and everything. And then you can dedicate the next few weeks of your CEO time to pitching different different podcasts. And before then, you might even have to do some research into what podcasts are going to be good, who has the same audience that are my ideal clients. And so there's so many things that you can do with your
Mhm.
CEO time. I've just given you a bunch of examples, but it's really about what is the goal? What do you want to achieve at the end of it?
I love this so much. And just to kind of recap what I heard you saying is that one, we need to think about our own natural rhythms and in our business and in our day to really look at like what would work best for us in our life and our energy and all of that, to plot out where we might carve out time for CEO time. And then I also hear you saying, it's like, it's not this, we're not doing the same thing every time. But it's working on those things that like really move the needle in your business. And that we often are so focused on delivering our service that we're not making time for those things. And I mean, I'm guilty of that. I can see those things that move the needle that like they drop to the bottom of my list when I don't have that allocated time.
Agreed. If we don't prioritize it, if we don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. And what I find is that a lot of us who are business owners, we prioritize our clients' work, which is obviously very important.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but we also take that mindset of as if we're an employee. So let me explain. When I first started my business, I kind of took the approach as if I was an employee working for a company. When you're an employee for a company, you are at 100% capacity, 100% capacity. And you are working for your clients, you are working on different projects. And so I adapted the same approach when it came to my business because I thought, oh, I need to be at 100% capacity with clients for my business to be effective. And then I soon realized, oh no, that's not how it should be, because then how do I have time for my marketing tasks, for my revenue generating tasks? I won't have time for it. And so what I've realized is that we need to be at 80% capacity with our clients and at least have 20%, for example, where we're focusing on things that will push our business forward. So I completely agree with that. And if we're not intentional with it, we just find that we're always working on our clients' work and getting them so many results. But then we're not thinking ahead with our business. We're only working in the present. And then that's where you have that time where you might be doing really well with a client project or with your clients and things are thriving. And then the next month it's crickets because there was nothing being done to move forward.
That's so important. So I want to back up a little bit because since you were on the podcast last, you have integrated some things in your business that I believe are probably a result of your CEO time a while ago, right? So share a little bit about that.
Okay, so since we last spoke, so it's changed a lot actually. So
I
I
know.
got serious. I think I mentioned to you that I was getting serious with LinkedIn.
Yes.
So I started posting on LinkedIn, and then I also launched my YouTube channel, which I mentioned that I was going to do as well.
You did. Yay.
Yeah, and that has been amazing, like such an amazing experience. I wish I'd started sooner,
Mm,
but it's been absolutely brilliant. And so it's kind of shifted how I work because there's a lot of content that I need to create. So I'll even give you an example. Over the summer, um, I've also been working on a Women in Entrepreneurship certification, which has been taking a lot of my time. So that coupled with LinkedIn and YouTube, it became a lot.
yes.
And so what I did is I actually took the month of August unintentionally. I kind of slowed down when it came to LinkedIn and YouTube, but I didn't just slow down and then just leave it. What I did is I took that time and I really ramped up that CEO time. And I looked at, okay, what are we doing for the rest of this year? What does it look like from a content perspective and how does it all connect so that it all makes sense? And what does it look like from your business as well? So one of the things I've come up with a 12-month program, strategy and accountability program. And that's because I've had the time to really sit there and analyze and review the kind of results that I've gotten with my clients previously. And
Mm.
whereas I was working with them just for VIP days, now I've got a VIP day offer, and I've also got this 12-month program. And that has come because I've had that time to actually sit back, reflect, and just to actually strategize and come up with creative ideas.
Mm. Well, first of all, congratulations on the changes that have been a result of all that in your business. I'm so excited. And please tell people where they can find your vlog. Is that what you call it? A vlog?
Yes. Yeah, well, yes, there's vlogs on there. There's vlogs on there. So if you go onto YouTube and you search Josephine Owusu strategist, I should come up. And
Okay, good.
I'll give you the link as well so that
Yes,
people can
we'll put the link in the show
click on it.
notes. And please check it out. Josephine is in London, and it's just such a delight for me here in the US to like travel with you and see where you are and see the countryside and the city and what you're doing, and you tie it all into your business and life, and it's beautiful. So thank you for the work you're doing. I'm so glad that you stepped into that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm in the countryside, English countryside, just an hour outside of London, because I was born and raised in London, but yeah, just moved to the countryside. And you'll get, if you love anything to do with the English countryside, you'll get to see all different
Ah,
aspects of that. But I'm also weaving in things to do with entrepreneurship as well.
amazing. So good. So what are some of the things that get in the way for entrepreneurs when it comes to making this time? Like, what are the things that get in our way from doing this?
I would say overwhelm. I would say client work. So if client work is booked to capacity, I would say also just being stressed and not planning, because the key is in the planning. So you've got if there's someone who doesn't even know how to plan for their week, or they don't even have time to plan for the week or the next month, that's something that will get in the way of CEO time,
Mm,
because naturally we prioritize everyone else. We do this with everything. So for example, you might make a date with a friend to meet up for a coffee, and because you've made that date with the friend, you don't want to disappoint them, and so you will make sure that you turn up unless something like an emergency happened. But how quick are we to cancel on appointments that we make with ourselves?
so true.
Like, we do it all the time. And so I find that when it comes to CEO time, sometimes we don't see it as a priority, but it should be.
Mm.
It
I've
really
got
should be, because sorry, go on.
No, you're making me think that I have this block on my calendar for like end of the month planning for the next month. And here we are. We're recording on the 31st, and I have moved that meeting probably like 3 times already. So I better get to it this weekend. But you're right. You're so right. We don't honor it the same way that we do other commitments in our life. And when we do, it makes a real difference.
Yes. And I thank you for sharing that example. We have all done it, including myself. My hands are up. We have done it where it's like, oh, we could just move that because we know it's us. It's
Right.
like, oh, we can just move that. And there needs to be a mindset shift where it needs to be a non-negotiable. I need to have this CEO time, because if I don't have this, think about what you can lose by not having it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much benefit. When you do have it, that is what allows you to push the business forward. If you're at a certain level in your business, it's only having that CEO time that will allow you to get to the next level, to be intentional. But if you don't have that time, and your time is looking after your client work and getting them the results, then you're just going to stay at the same place. And I want to share with you, there's a man called Ed Milet. It's so amazing. He works with
Oh,
high
I've heard
achievers.
him. Yes.
He's
Amazing podcast.
absolutely amazing. Yes, he's amazing. And I listened to him on a podcast where he was saying that the reason why, I think so, he said a lot of people ask him about imposter syndrome. And he said the reason why a lot of people experience imposter syndrome is because they don't trust themselves, because they have broken too many promises to themselves. So when they say that, oh, I'm going to go and exercise at 6 a.m. tomorrow, and then it's 5:45 and it's like, oh, I could just sleep in. They've broken the promises to themselves over and over again. So they don't actually trust themselves to deliver. And
Wow.
yeah, I can share the podcast with you so that you can share it with your listeners if you want. But
That would be
it
amazing.
was, yeah, that blew my mind, because I was like, oh, I've broken promises to myself so many times. And it's natural that we break more promises to ourselves than we do to other people. And
Mhm.
so I think by really honoring our CEO time, we're just making a shift, and we're prioritizing, no, this stuff needs to get done. If I really want my business to grow to the level that I want it to be, then I need to prioritize this, just as I prioritize my clients. It's just as important.
All right, I gotta go. I gotta go do some CEO time, Josephine. You're totally inspiring me. I'm so excited because when we talked about having this conversation, I think I was more thinking that CEO time is this vision strategy work, which it is, but you've opened my eyes that it's also carving that time to actually do the work that really moves the needle in your business. And I'm really inspired just here talking. I feel like I got to go do that right now. But I guess I am doing that right here.
Yes, you are. I'm glad that you're inspired. And I think everyone should just think of CEO time is doing those tasks which aren't client related, but will still benefit your business, will push your business forward. Those things that are needed, but you need to just carve that time out, because else you'll just be pulled in different directions.
That's right. And I think something that I've been really good at in my business for lots and lots and lots of years is having a vision and revisiting that vision almost, weekly, because that guides what I'm doing kind of on the daily. And
Yeah.
the power of that has been tremendous, not only in my business, but in my life. Having a vision for my marriage, having a vision for my family and my parenting and whatever it is, has had incredible results in those. And I've seen those visions that some of them I've carried 10 years and that have, kind of recently come to life. And so sometimes we have to carry those a long time to really see all the fruit of that. But it's an investment.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. And I love the fact that you mentioned that you have to keep on reminding yourself of that vision on a weekly, daily basis. And it's true, because if we don't remind ourselves of that vision, we can lose focus. And that's when other things may come around, or opportunities that look good, but they don't align with our vision. And we might take it because we're like, oh, but it looks good. But if we kept on reminding ourselves of the vision, we'd realize that this doesn't align right now. This is great, but let me park it until it does align with the vision that I have.
It's true. And sometimes I can fall into doing the things that I love to do that are, really fun to do or creative. I tend to gravitate to those kinds of activities, and those are great, but they're not always the thing I need to be focused on too. So as far as like thinking about how we schedule our CEO time, do you have sort of a recommendation of how we figure out what we're going to do in that particular chunk of CEO time?
Yeah, so what you could do is, first of all, look at what are the things that you have had on your list for quite a while, which you know are important to pushing your business forward. You know exactly what you need to do, but you've just never had time. And I say it with air quotes, to do. So I would say write down a list of all those things and then pick one. Pick one for that week. So you could even plan your CEO time across the month. So you could write down a list of, okay, these are the things that I know I need to do. So one of my things is I need to start my email list. I know I've needed to do that for forever. And so it's my priority over the next month. And so
Mm,
you want to write down, do a brain dump, all the things that you know have been on your list for forever, which you know will either push your business forward towards the goals that you have or increase your revenue, bring in more revenue. They're revenue generating tasks. And then time block. So if you know that, okay, I've got 3 hours every week, every Monday, I have 3 hours, time block and put in your calendar going to work on this task and be specific. Don't just put a generic
mm.
thing so that when it comes to the day, it's like, okay, I'm just going to move this because I don't even know what I'm going to do. And I'm just
Oh gosh,
overwhelmed of even having the thoughts.
that's what I've been guilty of. Okay, be specific. Put it in.
Be
Put in
specific.
the notes. Yes, what you're actually going to do. Then you don't have to think about it too, right? And spend all that trying to come up with what you're going to do. Love that.
Exactly. So an example, I've just given you the example of the email list. So one of the CEO days or CEO hours that you have, you can put write down the first email for the email sequence, or write down the
Mm.
first three emails. Write the first three emails for the welcome sequence. Or one of it could be research what platform you're going to join and join and get that. Do you
Those,
understand? So it's literally just doing things that are going to push you towards the goal of launching that email list.
I love this so much because I've experienced that. Like, just as you say that, like, write the first email or write the first three, doing that gets you so excited about what you're doing and often leads to you wanting to carve out more time to do it because you actually can now visualize and see this thing that you've been wanting to do. And it sort of comes to life.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly.
Love that. So how frequent if somebody's just starting to do this, like what is the frequency that you recommend?
Ideally, we'd want to do once a week, but if they're just starting out and, things are a bit tight right now, try and at least do it once a month.
Mhm.
Like at least get 1 day a month. But ideally, you would want to actually get into the habit of this. And so maybe start with a few hours every week. So it could be on a Monday, it could be on a Friday, it could be on a Wednesday. You look at your schedule and you carve out. So even if you said, I'm just going to carve out 2 hours a week, but just get into that habit and then you can increase it. But ideally, you would want to have it once a week at least. We want to get you to the point where you're at least half a day to a day a week. And on your CEO time, you want to make sure that you block out your calendar so clients cannot book in meetings around that time. So I'll give you an example. In my business, my core time for like certain sessions for my clients is Tuesday to Thursday. So Mondays, I do not do any meetings. Fridays could be my overspill. So if there's something and it's like the schedule is really not working, we can work with that. But
Mhm.
Monday is like, no, no, no. That is 100% CEO time. And then Friday is like, can be doing some admin or some prep for client work, those things where I could just do the deep work and focus. But if I do need to take a meeting on a Friday, then I can put it in there. So I would say just put it in some regular time. and sticking to it. That's going to be the hardest thing. So scheduling it will be the easiest. Sticking to it is the one where you have to show up for yourself every day.
Well, and I think for me, it helps to put my phone on silent, close my door. If I can get behind a closed door is good. It helps me just kind of focus. And I like what you're saying about, start with whatever you can carve out and then grow that over time. I've done that with reflection time, as a new mom years and years ago. I had to start with like 15 minutes, whatever I could carve out. But then that started to become so valuable that I was, really willing to find and get really creative about how I could create more of it. And I know in my business, when you have that extended thinking time, I feel like it's like compounds. Like there's value in going deep on something, and the ideas start to come and they build on each other. And you can't do that when you don't have an extended chunk of time. Would you agree?
I 100% agree. And I'll give you an example. I told you that I had to spend a lot of CEO time over the month of August. And I was sitting down mapping out my content for YouTube and for LinkedIn. And even that's when the ideas for my email list came up. And then I had more ideas of things that I could do with my clients. And I was just getting excited because I was realizing that my creativity was being awakened because I had that space to think, because
Yes.
I had that space to breathe. And even another thing is your CEO time could be remove yourself from your actual environment. So go to a coffee shop, for example, or go to the park or go to the beach if you live near a beach, and be inspired by nature. Go for a walk and sit on a bench and take your notebook and just put yourself in a different environment. You will be shocked the creative ideas that will come.
So incredibly true. So incredibly true. So good. Okay. So tell us a little bit as we start to close the rewards of this that you've seen. I mean, we've talked about some of them, but that you've seen and you've seen in your clients' lives. Like, what are some of the things that people can look forward to?
When you really prioritize your CEO time, what you will find is that you will see that you will actually do things that you've been saying that you've wanted to do for a long time.
Mm.
So it's like you will put them into action. They're no longer a dream, but you're putting action behind them. So for example, if I had not taken CEO time to actually sit out and plan out what am I what videos am I doing for YouTube? Before I'd launched my YouTube channel, I wouldn't have launched the channel because I would be sitting there thinking I'd have the mindset of overwhelm, which I'd had for a long time of, but what am I going to post? What are people going to be interested in? Whereas when I had that time to sit down and really just brainstorm and think about things, and be creative, then it was like, oh, I could do this. I could do a video on this. And I can look at my schedule as well of any events that I'm going to that can be incorporated as well. Um, I had, I've got a client who she came to me because she was struggling in terms of getting clients. So she had some consistent clients, but then she just needed more revenue in her business. And we did a couple of strategy sessions. And I told her what she needed to focus on. I told her about CEO time. I said, you need to carve this out. You need to work on your content for LinkedIn, for example. And we realized she had so much video content that could be repurposed on LinkedIn. And so I was like, we need to do that. And I gave her a whole strategy of things she needed to focus on in her CEO time. And the last time she updated me, she's got a waiting list of clients and she's booked out.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So, just as you're saying all of that, getting those things done that we've been wanting to do, that we talk about but haven't done, That is like, that just makes you stand up taller in everything that you're doing. When you actually follow through on the things that you've been saying are so important. I just have to reiterate that. And
Yeah.
to love the client story. And you reminded me that actually this conversation that you and I are having is a result of CEO time, which I hadn't called it particularly that, but there was a day where I sat down and I was really thinking about the podcast. And when I started the podcast, it was really important to me to have people on that I'd had a personal experience with. But after 2 years, I started to I had kind of tapped into all of, my circle. And so I was really thinking what am I going to do? And I went back to that value that was really important to me. And I thought I really had some time to dream. And I thought, what if I went back and invited my favorite people back to the podcast and we could go deeper in conversation? And then I reached out to you and a number of others. So this is a result of that. And that was that idea allowed me to start to plan the podcast out for almost an entire year and plot people and start. It's been amazing. So that's another example of what this can actually do for you and your business.
I love that you shared that because it's so true. And when it comes to CEO time, it's almost like it allows you to get excited about your business again, or allows you to get excited about those things. So for example, for you, it got you excited about the podcast again because you were just kind of okay, I'm going through the motions now. I've been doing well. I've been sticking at this, but I need to inject something fresh.
Yes.
And so it allows you to kind of step away from the day to day and come up with innovative and creative ways to just revive your business, to bring life, for you to just get excited about things again. It also allows you to be more proactive in your business. Because when you don't have CEO time, you're actually just being reactive. You're being reactive to your client work. You're just being reactive to what happens. But when you have that dedicated CEO time, you are not just letting things happen to your business, but you are being intentional and you are creating that plan. You're creating that strategy and you are walking in action to achieve what you set out to achieve.
Wow. Go back and rewind right now to what Josephine just said. That is it. That is it. That is the power of it. You just said it. You just summed it all up so beautifully. Okay, Josephine, where can people find out about the amazing work that you're doing?
So you can go to my website, www.theowusucollective.com. It's THEOWUSU collective.com. I nearly forgot to spell my last name, but we'll also link everything.
It'll be in the show notes.
And you can also find me on LinkedIn on Josephine Owusu, or search the Owusu Collective and you'll find me. And that will also be in the links as well. And I'm also on Instagram at I am Josephine Owusu. And you can find me on YouTube as well.
Yes, like we talked about. Well, I just love this woman. If you are listening and feeling like, gosh, this all sounds amazing, but I don't know how to do this. I need help getting started and being accountable to it and all of that. Josephine is your gal, and check out the incredible work she's doing. And she will be back, and stay tuned because we have some other things in store for you too, that we've been talking about. So Josephine, always a joy to be with you. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you so much for having me, Carla. I love speaking with you. So yeah. And thank you everyone for listening.
Have an amazing day. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of Differently. I hope it stirred your thinking, and I invite you to take one inspired action from something that stood out to you. If you want to hear more conversations like this, Be sure to hit follow on your favorite podcast app. And if this episode could impact someone you know, please help us spread the word and pass it along. Remember, new episodes drop weekly. See you next week.